Coming up on Mountain News this morning, we talked with one official about how Pike County is feeling the financial pinch of COVID-19. And staying in Pike County, folks are mourning the loss of a longtime public servant who died earlier this week. We talked with them about the legacy he leaves behind. And we take a look at how funeral homes here in eastern Kentucky are operating under the newly loosened restrictions on memorial services.
Dedicated to eastern and southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning. It is 6:32 on this Friday, May the 22nd. I'm Will Puckett. Thank you for tuning in to Mountain News this morning. Well, yesterday we saw a little bit of on and off rain, but for the most part, it wasn't too bad of a day. I wouldn't consider it a washout by any means. And I've heard Brandon mention in his sponsored forecast today that the rain chances throughout the next week are decreasing. Let's bring Brandon in and get that who's sponsoring today's weather forecast and what to expect. Brandon, good morning.
Good morning, Will, and you're exactly right. This sponsored forecast is brought to you by the letters T, G, I, and F, and it's been a long week, especially for a lot of folks who have dealt with flooding in parts of the week. So again, a much welcome weekend on the way, a long weekend for some folks, but a foggy start to it this morning. The good news is that fog is the only moisture in the atmosphere right now. Some dense fog, though, over some locations, so just be careful of that. If you're traveling early, we'll take a look at downtown Whitesburg, and you'll see, again, basically covered up, very even hard to see the buildings. So again, be careful this morning. We're taking a look at temperatures. They're in the 50s area wide, so kind of comfortable this morning, not too cold, not too hot. Out the door forecast, unfortunately, we will see those back and forth chances for rain as we head deeper into the day, but thankfully, like Will said, those chances for rain decreasing over the next few days, and I do think they'll be mainly scattered today and tomorrow before we get back into that typical summertime pattern by the first of next week, with just a stray chance in the afternoon heat of the day. The rest of the forecast on the way in a few minutes. Will?
All righty, Brandon, thank you. Well, a report from the state auditor says the Lawrence County attorney violated Section 3 of the Kentucky Constitution by awarding bonuses for work not performed. The report says 94% of that bonus money was given to his wife, in addition to $126,500 to her $40,000 a year salary. Reaching out to Hogan, he declined to speak about the audit, but did give a statement.
We have broken no laws and made no expenditures that were grossly, unfairly, or illegally dispersed.
The findings were handed over to several organizations, including the FBI and Kentucky Attorney General's office, for further investigation. Well, Hazard Police are asking everyone in Perry County to stay alert after a string of car thefts. Over the last few weeks, there have been 4 or 5 stolen cars, not only in the city, but also in the county. Hazard Police say it's been different suspects in every case, but they say there are a few precautions you can take to make sure this doesn't happen to you.
Well, if your vehicle's parked at your home, of course, make sure that you lock it when you're not around it. Also, make sure that anything that's on the inside of the vehicle, that you don't leave anything valuable or anything that somebody could just walking by see and say, hey, I'd like to have that. If you're out in the community, like if you pull into a gas station, just make sure that if you're gassing up, turn your vehicle off and lock it while you're gassing up.
If you have any information about the multiple thefts, you can call the Hazard Police Department at 606-436-2222. Well, as unemployment rises as a result of COVID-19, counties that rely on occupational taxes are worried they will soon feel the pinch. I talked with local officials who are wondering if they will get any federal help. For Pike County Judge Executive Ray Jones, the list of things COVID-19 impacts in his county is growing long.
So it's really been a logistical issue. We've still tried to continue to work and provide county services.
From services like trash pickup to license plate renewals and driver's licenses, the coronavirus's impact is felt all across the local level.
We're hopeful that some of these expenses can be recouped from the $300 million that the state is releasing to counties and cities for COVID-related expenses.
Elected into office in 2018, Jones at that time was looking at a county that lost its credit rating and experiencing a funding problem as Cole's severance dollars drops by millions each year.
It was painfully obvious that when your credit rating is taken away, that impacts the county's ability to bond projects. You know, it's no different than if an individual filed bankruptcy and then went to the bank and tried to get credit.
Preceding Jones, an occupational and net profit tax was passed, hoping to fill that gap.
This year we budgeted $3.6 million, and we were pretty much on pace with that.
But after increasing local layoffs and statewide jobless numbers, money in the Pike County budget is tight.
Well, it's $600,000 potentially combined with the loss of county road aid money of potentially $300,000 to $600,000. Plus, we expected a further decline in the coal and mineral severance tax.
But Jones hopes that their new budget that he expects to pass in the next fiscal court meeting is well thought out and plans for the effect that they expect COVID-19 to have on the Pike County budget. In Pike County, Will Puckett, WYMT Mountain News. Jones says they expect to know more by the end of July on how much the occupational tax will be impacted. Well, another inmate has died of COVID-19 complications from the Federal Medical Center in Lexington. The health department says the person who died was a man in his 60s. According to the Bureau of Prisons website, there are currently 212 cases involving FMC inmates and 4 active staff cases. The Lexington-Fayette County Health Department only reported 5 new cases of COVID-19 yesterday. Well, funeral homes can now reopen with more capacity, allowing for more people to join in on funeral services. WYMT's Dakota Makris tells us what this means for some funeral homes in our area.
Behind these brick walls, we find Mike Masters, the co-owner of House Rawlings Funeral Home in London, preparing to meet new guidelines.
We will allow the families to sit together, but we still want to practice social distancing with friends that come in and that may stay to attend the funeral. We want to keep that distance and keep within the guidelines.
Funeral homes are now able to open at 33% capacity, which Masters says is a relief for families.
You know, going from 10 people to 60 to 70 people, in our case, we're fortunate enough to have a large facility, and that's going to be a huge burden lifted off the families.
Ingle Bowling Funeral Home in Hazard can hold 71 people at 33% capacity, but staff is still making sure everyone is safe, even limiting handshakes and hugs.
We will have a funeral director at the door. Nobody will have to touch anything. That's our goal, to better serve the families, to make people feel comfortable in the community.
Hoping to bring a little more peace to an already grieving family.
The last 2 months I've saw it, and you know, when there's only 10 folks there, you know, there's been people that are immediate family that hasn't been able to come.
Allowing families to focus more on remembering the life of their loved one. Dakota Makris, WYMT Mountain News.
Both funeral homes say employees will wear masks and practice social distancing. Lounges in all funeral homes throughout the state will remain closed. Well, former Pike County Judge Executive Bill Deskins died in his home earlier this week. The 90-year-old public servant was county sheriff for 2 terms before serving as county judge executive for 2 non-consecutive terms. Deskins left office in early 2019 as the fiscal court moved to a commissioner form of government. But those who worked with him say he left a piece of himself behind.
Someone's idea was better than his, and it better suited the situation. He always took the better idea. And that's something that I've adapted in my work ethic now. He was great to work with, great to be around, a great leader.
Several of the county employees say the loss hits hard, remembering Deskins as someone who always had their back as long as they were serving the county to the best of their abilities. We have a link to the funeral arrangements on our website at WYMT.com.
Time now for our daily Helpers and Heroes segment to wrap up this week, and we take a look at some of the frontline workers that have been helping out across the region during the COVID-19 pandemic and beyond that. Let's take a look at our first picture today, which comes to us from Carol. This is her daughter, Heather Miracle. Heather has worked many years at the nursing home in Barberville. She's worked many hours trying to keep her residents safe, and I'm sure taking special care right now along with this COVID-19 pandemic going on to keep the virus away from the most vulnerable population. Thank you, Heather, for your dedication. Your mother says you are her hero. Our next picture was submitted by Kiera. This is her sister, Kendra Bailey. Kendra works at the Laurels, a nursing home over in Harlan. In this picture, she has her mask on, doing her part to protect those that she serves and works with. Thank you, Kendra, for going above and beyond. And finally today, our last picture comes to us from Pam. This is her sister, Sherry Young. Pam tells us that Sherry has worked at Walmart for the last 27 years and has always put her customers before herself. She also says that Sherry is her hero. Thank you for your service to our community. Now again, there's still plenty of time to submit those helpers and heroes. We've got the links up at WIMT.com. You can send them to me on Facebook. A lot of folks have been doing that. We appreciate that. But if you want to do that through the website, search for helpers and heroes at WIMT.com. Or right there on the homepage, just below the radar there on the right side of the screen, you can see the Add Media button with the Helpers and Heroes icon there right next to it. Will?
All righty, Brandon, and thank you, sir, and thank you to all those helpers and heroes, and thank you for tuning into Mountain News this morning. We'll be right back with some of today's top stories.